Hello, welcome back to our Object Relations Thinking lecture series, which I've been so pleased to participate in and share so many thoughts over so many topics with you. Today, I'd love to talk to you about time management from the inside out. I've done some writing about time as an object relation internal world phenomenon, where we project our inner experience of our objects onto the way we experience time. One of the papers that I did dealt with the difference between persecutory time and holding time. That is where you feel held by time as opposed to persecuted by the onslaught of what you have to do and what you have to keep doing and have to do. So one of the papers published in several journals actually it's entitled Dialectics of Mortality and Immortality, and subtitles related to time as an internal, transitional, and internal objects. And I talk about persecutory versus holding time, and there's another paper I did extending that to also issues of when people feel time is frozen. But I'm going to talk today about how we might play around with transforming our very personal experience of time as persecutory to time as holding. How can we play with this? It's something I've thought about for myself. I certainly haven't mastered the art. I'm just playing with it and sharing with you how you might play with it. About transforming this, doing things when you feel time is persecutory versus doing things when you feel time is holding. For myself, I have more of an experience of holding time in the evenings and more of a sense of persecutory time in the morning. I think that relates to my internal object experience and also to the idea that I have to get certain things done in a day. But it's not just that. It's also that I have different internal objects I connect with in the morning from the evening because of my childhood. So that's something I carry with me. And other people carry different constellations of internal objects. And they project out of those into time and create their own personal experience of time. So there are times I project a persecutory object and time feels very persecutory. And it makes it much more stressful than to do all the things I have to do, because then it becomes that have to feeling, and it can become very intense at times. I'm someone who likes to get things over with. There are people who procrastinate. I have my areas of procrastination, but actually not in writing or anything professional. I have that in possibly doing something to file things away in my office or home. But other than that, I'm not a procrastinator. I'm one of these people who likes to get things over with. And either way, whether you're fighting time through procrastination or you're letting time push you through, you have to get it over with right away, it can become a stressful, persecutory experience of time. So how do we transition from that into the sense that we can flow with time and surrender to time, surrender into the moment and feel held by time? And does that affect when we begin to do something? I mean, what's the difference between doing something just to get it over with and doing it when we feel very emotionally connected to ourselves in our inner flow and we're with more holding objects inside? And then when we do the very same task, it feels so much easier. So this is my thinking about time management from the inside out. It's not an outside scheme of planning anything and how you switch it. It's really a playful thing of playing from your inner world with time. and seeing when you're projecting more holding objects of time rather than persecutory ones, how your flow may be different, making things easier and more pleasurable to do than when you're just going from a sense you have to do it and have to get it over with in a persecutory way. Of course, we have deadlines and we do have to do things in certain kind of time. And it served me very well to be someone who does things ahead of time. It's served me very well in my life. But sometimes I realize I'm overly stressed in that way, that I have to do everything right away rather than give myself time to relax and get into my inner flow and connect with time from the holding objects. And then I could do the same things and not have it become such a, stressful and persecutory at the worst experience, but rather something that evolves into a playful doing of a task I have to do. But it becomes more meaningful and more of an experience of being with time. And then, of course, this affects our overall view of our mortality as well. There are much broader issues, much broader existential issues about if we play with time now in the moment and on a daily basis with time management from the inside out, will this affect our overall view of our mortality? Will we have a different view of the deadline of mortality, even if we don't know when we're going to die? We can have this feeling of mortality moving in on us more as we age. And can we modify that sense of persecution from that? And we make it more of we're surrendering to time and allowing time to carry us. And I think of this in terms of an evolution. It's also related to an broader view of psychoanalysis, too, about how much we're in the moment in terms of object relations theory. Bion spoke more about the moment, and that's become more popular these days as people become more aware of how important it is to be present and be in the moment. So from a clinical perspective, we do that. But it affects our view of psychotherapy and psychoanalysis too, how we engage with time, whether we surrender or instead we submit or oppose time. Just like in Argentine tango, one needs to surrender to one's partner in the music, not to oppose or submit to a lead, for example, from the follower in tango. You need to allow surrender and mutual surrender between follower and leader, and surrender to the music together. So think of this in terms of how we surrender to time. Time being our leader, us being the followers, like in Argentine tango, but we're following from a surrender position rather than the oppositional fighting against the authority of time. Because time in its objective sense does have its own authority. We can want to go and strike against time, or we could want to oppose time. But that just creates a lot of stress. We can also submit too much to time, and then we do things with a lot less pleasure and ease. It becomes, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I could wake up thinking all the things I have to do, and it spoils my whole day. So it's all about how do we get to surrender? How does that link up with how we feel time and what we project from our internal world onto time, where we try to access holding objects and then a sense of being able to surrender to our holding objects and projecting that on time rather than persecutory objects within us. So these are some of my thoughts today about time management from the inside out. I hope you'll share with me in playing with these different ways of getting what we need to get done, but with more pleasure and ease. I hope you'll play along with me with time. Thank you very much for joining me today.